You know, we've been getting a lot of questions these days about what's the deal with the new Green Acres mini golf course. To get to the bottom of what's up, CBS 7 sent their best golfer to do some sleuthing. Joke's on them. I've never golfed a day in my life. The first thing most people do when they find this looking back at them is call a plumber. But lately, getting a hold of a plumber isn't that easy. Now, before you go crazy, there are some things that don't qualify. Things like chainsaws, toilet paper, and of course, grills. Wait, what?
We were just starting to get back on our feet again, and now this.
That's a video from this past Thanksgiving when I spoke with VFW Post 4372 Quartermaster Michael Kahn about how the Post was doing during the pandemic. In a word, not good. But 6 months later, the outlook is much brighter. You know, when I was a kid, I desperately wanted to be a Navy pilot. And while that dream never flew, you and I can still play a role in getting planes like these back in the air this September. Once they get here, they will be immediately tested for COVID-19. Then they will go into a 7-day quarantine period. On the 3rd day of that quarantine, they will be tested again. If they test negative both times, then after that 7th day, they will then be released. Now, they'll still be inside this facility here. You know, in the past, if I was assigned to cover a government meeting in the city of Odessa, I'd have to physically go to the meeting and drag stuff like this with me. It's time-consuming and exhausting. But lately, the city is providing a virtual option for citizens and lazy journalists, and that's driving up engagement. From rolling blackouts to electrical failures, a huge number of people in the Permian Basin are still without power, and some families are starting to get desperate. Endless Horizons in Odessa sells all kinds of records, CDs, and movies. But even after Texas drops its mask mandate next week, if you want to get one of these, you'll have to wear one of these. You know, 42nd Street is kind of a dividing line that cuts through the center of Odessa. The problem is that 7 of the city's 8 fire stations are currently south of this line, leaving just one station to service newer neighborhoods like this one in the northern part of the city. But that's not going to be the case much longer. Most businesses are closed. As you can see here on Main Street, just about everything is closed. But if you go a little bit that direction off Main Street, the local liquor store is open. It's hard to believe that the migrant crisis stems from people crossing this river. But House Republicans aren't blaming the people crossing the river, but rather the people they feel are enabling it. The Trinity School in Midland doesn't have one of the big high schools in the Permian Basin, which is why it might surprise you that one of the nation's best clay shooters goes to school here. And he's about to sign to do it in college as well. If you venture out west of Odessa to Penwell, you'll get to gaze upon miles and miles of absolutely nothing. But in the not too distant future, that nothing will be the site of a $7 billion project, and that could change everything. There has been work inside, but we can't see that. What we have been able to see is outside. There used to be a big white picket fence that was running all along this perimeter here. That has since been torn down. Holes have been dug into the ground where they will put in big metal stanchions that'll hold the chain link fence that is scheduled to be put in here within the coming days. Now I'm trying this here corn dog to make sure we're good. It's a really good corn dog, man. You should probably try it sometime. There's something serious about being a lawyer, even during the pandemic. The official hearings and defending clients are all very no-nonsense affairs, which is why showing up to a hearing as a cat probably isn't the best course of action. But if you are worried about safety, there are still social distancing measures in place, such as seating, masks, and 6 guests per graduating student. Yeah, the Marfa Fire Department received the fire call around 12:30 this morning. And when they arrived at the scene downtown, this is what they found. This is the Judd Architecture office. You can see blown out windows, boarded up windows, and if you actually look closely inside, you can see where some of that structure has actually collapsed in on itself. And with such a historic building being so completely damaged, it has residents around here saying, what's next? Cheers rang out this evening from workers as the buses you see here brought in about 125 migrant children to the Pecos holding facility. Drivers in the Permian Basin are being warned to stay off the roads for the next few days, and because of that, many of them are headed to the grocery store. You know, as I reach middle age, I've started to notice my face has more lines than a football field, and while I'm not overly worried about it, there are a growing number of businesses like Touch of Sass in Midland designed to help people who are. I know you're excited to get out to Fiesta West Texas this weekend, but perhaps nobody is more excited than the people and animals who are here to welcome you. Businesses of all kinds have been hit hard by the pandemic, and movie theaters are no exception, but lately, business has been popping. Here's what residents are dealing with. These 12-inch culverts are simply too small to effectively channel the water, which means it floods. But another problem is that this road, when it was reconstructed, was built too high, which means water can't flow over the road, but instead winds up getting pushed right back into people's houses. As people begin to return to normal life, the demand for things like cars has drastically outpaced supply. These two vehicles you see here are the only two new cars to arrive at Lithia Toyota in Odessa today, and almost as soon as they roll off the truck, they're gone. I'm going to walk you around and show you a little bit about what we're seeing here. So obviously you can see all of these people kind of still flooding into here. Now this is where it gets interesting in case you're still thinking about coming out here tonight. Parking is all the way backed up here. This lot was full when I got here about 45 minutes ago. Overflow parking. The Odessa police were working on that when I arrived. And you can see here, obviously, Starbright Village. You can see the entrance right here. We're on the back side of that. But if you roll through here, if you're coming here, maybe you didn't get to dinner, you're coming straight from work, all kinds of food trucks lined up here. It's a beautiful scene. The tree's got some wonderful lights in them, and you can see the full Starbright Village way back there. I do want to show you this, and this is why everyone's out here, the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. You might not really be able to see it, but it's further back there. At 6:30, that tree is supposed to be lit. We're all awaiting that, and that's what everyone is kind of here for, and that's what we'll be watching for here tonight. Jay, Mary Kate. You know, those of us who've been around a while know that whatever goes out of style eventually comes back in, which is why it shouldn't be surprising that the hot shoe of 2021 isn't something made by Nike or Under Armour, but rather Crocs. The new Midland Fire Station number 5 is built on the same location as the old number 5, but with some very important differences. Like this cavernous engine bay that holds 3 engines instead of 2, and a second floor, which is why this nifty slide is here. Yeah, Jay, tomorrow at 8 a.m., Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is scheduled to travel aboard the New Shepard into space. Now, he'll be joined by his brother Mark, 82-year-old aviator Wally Funk, and an 18-year-old Dutch student who will become the youngest person to ever travel into space. Now, here are some facts. They'll be leaving from a Blue Origin site about 25 miles that direction up into those mountains that you see there, and they'll be traveling about 66 miles straight up from where I am standing here. Yeah, Jay, there's a little bit of an ego that goes into shooting sports, right? We all like to think we're really good at it, maybe the best we know, but there's a youth shooting organization in Midland County that will probably make you rethink just how good you are. If you're a pool owner, you've probably noticed it's costing you more green to keep that pool blue. But if you want to keep that pool from turning green, well, more green is what you'll have to spend, and in turn that might make you blue. You know, I take pride in being the strongest guy at CBS 7 outside of maybe Jay Hendricks, but hanging out with strong men like Howard here, well, has me evaluating how strong I really am. Nearly 3 weeks after Winter Storm Uri, people are still finding leaks and breaks in their piping. But if you're not a handyman and are looking to get a hold of a plumber, well, you might have to wait a little while. In row E, underneath the sink, at the range, at the dealership, getting some work done. Hanging with the Sea Lions, I'm Joshua Skinner, CBS 7 News.